In today's session, we're going to continue on the implementation process to achieve breakthrough improvement. And so we've been going through the different steps of implementing the necessary and sufficient conditions to be a high-performing organization. We should be at this point where we have identified the constraint of the system. We've gone through, decided how to exploit that, how to subordinate to that, how to elevate that. And now we're at step 5. If the constraint's broken, go back to step 1. So I think there's a huge misconception out there about the 5 focusing steps of chasing the constraint. So finding a constraint, unblocking it, finding the next constraint, unblocking it, finding the next constraint, unblocking it. That's not what Dr. Goldratt had intended, to chase the constraint, or some people call it debottlenecking the operation, because you'll be in chaos of changing all the time of where the single control point is within the organization. So what we want to do is we want to focus today on strategically positioning the constraint in the company, and then the constraint is never broken. We stabilize it, we fix it, and then we follow the 5 focusing steps to figure out how to exploit it. And then subordination becomes extremely important, to subordinate to keep the constraint fixed in the organization. So when we look at the constraints, we'll talk about strategically positioning that constraint. So the constraint is not just an operational bottleneck to fix, it's a leverage point for the entire system. So we got to realize that it's a leverage point of the entire system. So back to our chain analogy, right? The weakest link in the chain is our constraint. And how do we get more out of that resource? One, we can increase the utilization of that resource, so get more work flowing through that resource. We can get paid more for each unit that goes through that resource, or we can offload some of that work to less efficient resources to strengthen the chain. So remember, our goal is to strengthen the chain. And so leadership should consciously decide where to anchor that constraint so they can do 3 things: maximize throughput, stabilize the flow, and align the whole system to deliver unique value. So last session we talked about creating that decisive competitive advantage. So how do we create that decisive competitive advantage? It's by delivering value that none of our competitors can deliver. So remember, our definition of value is removing a significant limitation for the customer. So do we really understand the significant needs of the customer? So we're looking at significant needs as maybe they have an availability need, maybe they have a reliability need, maybe they have a short lead time need. So what are the needs of the customer, and making sure that we can provide that unique value solution that nobody else can deliver. So when we look at the capacity of the entire system, right, is determined by the constraint. So don't just accept it passively. Ask, where's the best place to have my constraint within the organization? So that was what Dr. Goldratt said. The considerations include, where's a single point in the flow that allows me to have the most control within the organization? So we're looking at a single point in the flow that gives us the most control. So that's typically a convergent point within the system or a divergent point. So if you don't understand what those terms are, go back and look at some of the previous videos about convergent and divergent points. A resource where high capital investment is necessary to increase the capacity. So if we have to increase capacity and it's a significant capital investment, that might be a good point to have a strategically control point within the system. Or it's a resource where value differentiator is for the organization. So is there a certain technology, a certain skill set that we have that none of our competitors can duplicate easily, and it can be a differentiator in terms of value for the customer? So those are the 3 considerations to where strategically position the constraint. So having an internal constraint ensures that flow is predictable, controllable, and aligns production with market demand. So when we have the internal constraint, we're scheduling the work through that constraint to our market demand. But what happens is, as we get more work, the lead time keeps exceeding or getting longer, and then that, if lead time is a competitive advantage, then we're starting to lose our competitive advantage. So having that external constraint is typically the best position to have it, which means we have more capacity then we have demand. So the market demand is the constraint. So now it shifts our focus to marketing sales to increase orders. So Dr. Gorat emphasized, when possible, the market should be the constraint, which allows the organization to take on additional orders while maintaining short and predictable lead times, setting the stage for providing exceptional value through an unrefusable offer. So we want to get to that point where we can create that unrefusable offer and having the constraint strategically in the market. So that doesn't mean that we're losing money. That means that we're having more capacity than we have orders, so we can take advantage of opportunities coming at us and deliver those to the market where no other competitor can deliver. So having external constraint again means that the market is our demand is our constraint, and we also need to have stability. So how do we do it? So we have the market as our constraint. Then we have an internal control point. So that internal control point is the resource with the least amount of capacity in our system, but that capacity is more than what our market demand is. So therefore, the internal control point can be used to evaluate which orders are good for the organization, which orders are not good for the organization, and how should we reconfigure our sales and marketing plan to go after orders that are good for the organization. So now at this point, we're really starting to elevate the system and improve the overall performance of the company to be a high performing company and providing huge value for the market. So that's our session for today. Again, go to our website, look at our case studies, look at our services that we provide, go to our YouTube channel where I have over 200 videos now of different concepts like this that you can learn how to apply in your organization. So thanks for joining.